Ladies and gentlemen, relationships are an incredible journey, a journey filled with love, understanding, challenges, and yes, conflict. It's easy to picture love as a fairy tale where everything falls into place effortlessly, but the reality is that every relationship, no matter how strong or fulfilling, will face its fair share of disagreements, misunderstandings, and moments of tension. But here's the secret: many don't realize. Conflict doesn't mean the end of the relationship. In fact, if approached in the right way, conflict can be one of the most powerful tools for growth, strengthening the bond between two people and deepening your connection. Now, I know what you may be thinking. Conflict? Isn't that a thing we're supposed to avoid? Isn't it something that creates distance and tension? The truth is, conflict is inevitable. It's a natural part of any partnership. And no matter how much we love each other, we will sometimes disagree, hurt each other unintentionally, or feel misunderstood. What truly matters is how we choose to navigate these conflicts and disagreements, how we communicate, how we listen, and how we solve the issues at hand. Today, I want to speak to you about managing conflict in relationships without causing harm, about handling those difficult moments where emotions run high and tensions flare, and how to come out of them not just intact but stronger, wiser, and more connected than ever before. I believe that when we learn to approach conflict with a mindset of growth rather than defeat, it can become the very thing that elevates our relationship. It's not about avoiding disagreements. It's about embracing them with the understanding that every challenge is an opportunity to understand each other more deeply, to build trust, and to develop a connection that goes beyond just the good moments. It's about learning how to fight fair, how to focus on solutions, and how to grow together, even through the tough times. In today's world, too many people fall into the trap of thinking that if a relationship is meant to be, it should be smooth sailing all the time. But that couldn't be further from the truth. Every relationship, no matter how perfect it seems, will face trials, moments where it feels like everything is falling apart. The key is not to fear conflict or to run from it, but to learn how to handle it with grace and emotional intelligence. We're going to explore how you can transform conflict into an opportunity for growth. We'll talk about the importance of communication, how listening to understand rather than to respond can completely shift the outcome of a disagreement. We'll discuss how focusing on solutions instead of blame can pave the way for a more harmonious and solution-oriented relationship. And most importantly, we'll delve into how handling conflict with empathy, respect, and collaboration can help you not only resolve issues, but strengthen your bond in the process. So, if you're ready to stop fearing conflict and start seeing it as a tool for strengthening your relationship, then you're in the right place. Together, we'll learn how to embrace the challenges that come our way, how to navigate disagreements without hurting each other, and how to come out stronger on the other side. It's time to turn conflict into a stepping stone, not a stumbling block in your journey together. Let's dive in. Conflict doesn't mean the end, it means growth conflict. Just the word can send shivers down our spine. When we think of conflict in relationships, we often think of hurtful words, angry arguments, or even the possibility of a breakup. But here's the truth. Conflict is not the enemy. The real enemy is the way we respond to it. It's how we choose to engage in that moment of tension that determines whether the relationship will grow stronger or weaker. The truth is, every relationship will face conflict. Whether it's a disagreement over something trivial or something more significant, it's a natural part of any partnership. But too often people view conflict as a sign that something is wrong with the relationship. They think if we argue, we must not be compatible, or if we fight, we're doomed. But conflict, in and of itself, does not signify the end. In fact, it often represents an opportunity for growth and understanding. Imagine for a moment that every disagreement, every moment of tension, is not something you need to fear or avoid. What if you could reframe these moments and see them as an opportunity to deepen your connection rather than break it? What if, instead of focusing on winning, you focused on understanding each other? Instead of trying to prove your point, you try to hear your partner's heart. When you approach conflict with this mindset, it becomes less of a battle and more of a conversation, not a fight to the finish, but a way to build something stronger and more resilient. It's easy to get caught up in the idea that we need to be right to have the final word, but that's where so many people go wrong. Winning an argument doesn't necessarily mean the relationship wins. If one person wins and the other feels belittled, unheard, or dismissed, both parties lose in the long run. True strength in a relationship is not about being right, it's about respecting each other's feelings, hearing each other's perspectives, and growing together through conflict. When you're in the middle of a conflict, it's important to remember that your partner is not your enemy. The problem or disagreement is what you're facing together, not each other. You may feel hurt or angry, but so may your partner. The goal isn't to defend your position at all costs. The goal is to listen, to be vulnerable, and to grow closer despite the conflict. Think about it. Conflict isn't a threat to the relationship. It's an opportunity to strengthen it. Every time you face a difficult situation and manage to navigate it with respect, empathy, and understanding, you build trust and resilience in the relationship. Every time you learn something new about your partner's perspective, you increase your emotional intimacy. And every time you handle a disagreement with grace, you deepen your commitment to one another. But none of this is easy. It takes awareness, takes maturity, and it takes a willingness to be vulnerable, to step back and not just react from a place of hurt, but to respond with love and intention. That's why it's so important to develop emotional intelligence in relationships, so you can understand your own triggers and reactions, so you can catch yourself when you feel anger bubbling up, and take a moment to breathe, so you can choose to see your partner's emotions as valid, even when you disagree. Because in the end, conflict doesn't have to destroy your bond, it can make it stronger. So the next time you feel the tension rising, don't panic, don't feel like everything is falling apart. Take a deep breath, shift your perspective, and remember, this is your chance to grow. Communication is key. Listen to understand, not to respond. When conflict arises in a relationship, our first instinct is often to defend ourselves. We want to justify our actions, explain our feelings, and ensure the other person understands where we're coming from. But here's the key. Effective conflict resolution isn't about talking the most, it's about listening the most. Communication isn't just about exchanging words, it's about truly understanding the emotions behind them. When we engage in a conversation during conflict, it's easy to get wrapped up in our own perspective, our own hurt, and our own need to be understood. However, this often leads to more disconnection, not connection. This is where the true magic of communication happens, when we listen to understand, not just to respond. Listening to understand means putting aside your own ego, your own need to be heard, and genuinely trying to grasp the perspective of your partner. It means letting go of the urge to interrupt or offer a solution before they've finished speaking. It means hearing the emotions beneath their words, even if those emotions are difficult or uncomfortable to hear. Think about the times when you've been upset, frustrated, or hurt. What did you really need in that moment? Likely, it wasn't someone to tell you why you were wrong or why they were right. What you needed was someone to listen, to hear you, to feel with you, to acknowledge your pain. We all want to feel seen, heard, and understood. And when we communicate in a way that prioritizes listening over speaking, we create a space for our partner to feel all of those things. So how do we become better listeners in conflict? It starts with being present. Fully present. When you're in the middle of a disagreement, it's easy for your mind to wander or for you to start rehearsing what you'll say next. But the most important thing you can do is stay present, be in that moment, focus on what your partner is saying, and truly absorb their words without judgment or interruption. Here are a few practical ways to enhance your listening skills during conflict. Give your full attention. Put down your phone, turn off distractions, and make eye contact. Show your partner that they have your undivided attention. This simple gesture can make them feel valued and respected. Reflect and validate. After your partner speaks, reflect back what you've heard. For example, you can say, "I hear you're feeling hurt because I didn't follow through on my promise." This shows that you're not just hearing their words, but actually understanding their feelings. Ask clarifying questions. If something isn't clear, ask questions to dive deeper into their perspective. It shows that you're interested in understanding them fully, rather than just defending your own position. Avoid defensiveness. It's easy to get defensive when we feel accused or misunderstood, but defensiveness shuts down communication. Instead, focus on how you can understand their feelings, even if you don't fully agree with them. Be patient. Sometimes it takes time for both parties to fully express their feelings. Resist the urge to rush the conversation or find a quick solution. Let the conversation unfold at a natural pace. By practicing these techniques, you not only show your partner respect, but you also create an environment where both of you feel safe to express yourselves. When we listen without judgment, we make it easier for our partners to be vulnerable with us, and vulnerability is the foundation of trust. But listening isn't just about waiting for your turn to speak. It's about actively engaging with your partner's emotions and needs. It's about creating a dialogue that prioritizes connection over confrontation. And it's about having the humility to admit when we've hurt someone, even if it wasn't intentional. So remember, the more you listen, the more you understand. The more you understand, the more compassion you can bring to the conversation. And the more compassion you bring, the more likely you are to resolve the conflict in a healthy, respectful way that strengthens your relationship. Effective communication doesn't just solve problems, it deepens your bond. It allows both partners to feel seen, heard, and valued, even in moments of disagreement. In the end, it's not about being right or wrong, it's about fostering a relationship where both people feel emotionally safe, respected, and loved. So, next time conflict arises, remember, listen with empathy, communicate with kindness, and build a bridge to a deeper connection. Focus on solutions, not blame. In every relationship, disagreements and conflicts are inevitable. It's how we handle them that defines the strength and longevity of our bond. One of the most crucial aspects of managing relationship conflicts without hurting each other is focusing on finding solutions rather than assigning blame. Blame only creates walls between partners. Solutions create pathways to understanding and resolution. When a conflict arises, it's easy to fall into the trap of pointing fingers and highlighting each other's mistakes. We often ask ourselves, who's at fault here? Who did this wrong? But focusing on blame only fuels anger, defensiveness, and resentment. Instead of moving forward, we get stuck in the past, circling the same issues without making any real progress. Let's take a step back and reframe the approach. Instead of asking, who's wrong, ask, what can we do to fix this? Shift the conversation from blame to problem solving. Instead of accusing each other, focus on the solution and work together to address the issue at hand. When both partners focus on solving the problem, they're less likely to attack each other personally and more likely to approach the situation with a team mindset. Solution-focused thinking requires both partners to step out of a victim mindset and into a collaborative one. It's about recognizing that both parties have a role in the situation, and rather than pointing fingers, you work together to find a way forward. This approach brings about constructive action which leads to growth and resolution rather than lingering hurt. Here's how to incorporate solution-focused thinking into your relationship conflicts. Recognize the issue, not the person. Instead of focusing on what your partner has done wrong, focus on the issue at hand. For example, if your partner forgot an important event, instead of saying, you never remember anything, you're so careless, shift the focus to the situation. I feel hurt when important things are forgotten, and I'd love if we could work on remembering these things together. This way, you're addressing the situation and its emotional impact without criticizing your partner's character. Collaborate, don't compete. Often in conflicts, it feels like we are in a competition with our partner, each trying to prove who is more right. Instead of competing, aim to collaborate. Ask yourself, how can we work together to make things better? This shifts your mindset from adversarial to cooperative. Together, you can figure out solutions that work for both of you rather than spending energy on being right. Take responsibility for your part. No conflict is ever one-sided. Even if your partner is largely at fault, there's usually something you can learn from the situation, whether it's your reaction, your communication style, or your own unmet needs. Taking responsibility for your part in the conflict will help you grow individually and as a couple. This doesn't mean accepting blame for everything, but rather being honest about your own actions and feelings in the situation. Stay focused on the future. It's easy to get bogged down in the past, revisiting old mistakes and reliving past hurts. But the key to conflict resolution is moving forward. Once the issue is addressed, let it go. Holding on to past conflicts only drags you down. Focus on what you both can do moving forward to prevent similar issues from arising again, and take concrete steps to improve the relationship. Compromise with compassion. In most cases, the solution to a conflict lies somewhere in the middle. Both partners need to be willing to compromise in order to find common ground. This doesn't mean giving in to each other's demands, but it does mean being open to making adjustments for the good of the relationship. Compromise requires compassion, understanding that sometimes both partners have valid needs and desires that may not always align perfectly. The key is to find a middle ground that works for both. Remember, every conflict is an opportunity for growth. By focusing on solutions, you and your partner are taking the opportunity to strengthen your bond, develop better communication, and learn from each other's perspectives. Rather than allowing the conflict to drive you apart, use it as a chance to build something even stronger. In conclusion, managing relationship conflicts without hurting each other is all about creating a space for understanding, empathy, and collaboration. Instead of focusing on who's at fault or who's to blame, approach the situation with a problem-solving mindset. Work together, take responsibility for your part, and find solutions that honor both of your needs. And remember, a healthy relationship isn't defined by the absence of conflict, but by the way both partners handle it when it arises. By shifting your focus to solutions, you'll not only resolve conflicts more effectively, but also build a deeper, more resilient relationship based on trust, respect, and mutual support.